we're going to quickly talk to Kyle in Indiana, who says government information coming out today shows that conspiracy theories shouldn't be discounted immediately. Kyle, do you want to elaborate?
Sure, Vino. MD Aware, real quick, thank you for running a little late to take my call. I really appreciate it. To go as fast as I can here. Throughout history, governments have lied to their people for sinister reasons sometimes. Sometimes it's just they're incompetent. Several times in U.S. history, especially within the 20th century, we had the Tuskegee study where they gave syphilis to a group of men and kept a secret 40 years. MK Ultra. I can bring it up to date a little bit with weapons of mass destruction, Agent Orange.
We're on board with you. Governments lie to their people.
Why would we give credibility to that government mouthpiece today? Because it's basically the same people that were there when some of these things happened. I mean, our president, for goodness sakes, was there during the first and second Gulf War. I don't know if he specifically bought into the propaganda that was put out there, but of course the American people did, because millions of people died over, I hate to say a lie, at least bad or horrible intelligence. So I guess what is it that I can do in my own head to convince me it's okay to trust with I don't want to get shadow banned here, but I think you guys know where I'm going. How can I believe government information today is credible?
I think this comes down to a lot of factors, but I think really it has to do with incentives. But like, and the grandiosity of the conspiracy, right? Of course, governments lie, and they lie for reasons, and that reason is, you know, and that reason is extremely important to this equation. But also the means at which they are able to get away with it. You know, the examples you've given, they're small scale. There's a few people involved. I mean, obviously some more than others, but and guess what? We know about them because eventually they got out. These sorts of like, obviously there are a lot of conspiracies flying around today. Most of them have a grandiosity of scale that is insurmountable, things that no one could reasonably lie about, and frankly, wouldn't have good incentives to lie about. You know, if you think about some of the most common conspiracies of today, what real reason could people have to lie about the things in the news right now? I mean, I'm sure you could come up with some sinister plot of disenfranchising the world, blah, 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 blah. But again, these are all vague, grandiose, you know, world-ending theories. And I don't think that unless you have specific evidence to believe somebody's lying and a reason to do that, and I think you can generally expect that people who are in representative positions are going to, one, act to their best interest, and two, act probably secondarily, I'm afraid, to the interests of the people that they represent, until otherwise proven. I think that has to be your base assumption, just based on how people behave. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, Aware?
I mean, I agree. I think I agree that, yes, governments have and do continue to lie to their people and other people, right? I think that you can go into a big rabbit hole trying to understand why people do stuff, but I try to keep my life simple by just believing the things that I have evidence for and nothing else, right? It's like, and it sort of helps that I'm in the position where I'm a scientific knowledge generator, in a sense, as like someone who does and publishes research. I know what it's like, that, you know, I think a lot of times when the official guidelines around something medical change, people say, oh, there's someone lying to us, there's a conspiracy to make people sick, blah, blah, blah. But I have a sort of insider view that sometimes our understanding changes, and sometimes people were doing something wrong without realizing it, and it's not necessarily nefarious. I think that the best principle that I could apply here is don't attribute something to malice that can be attributed to ignorance, because I think that especially when it comes to government, incompetence is more likely to be the answer than like a huge malignant conspiracy.
Well, hot take. Well, not really.
Fair enough. Ignorance may be it, but that doesn't negate the consequences. Just because
Agreed.
The government is horrible about making the wrong call, and it affects millions of people all the time.
Yep.
I think a lot of the resistance today, and these people are being sort of shunned as anti-vax when they're just not trusting the information that they're getting, because it's coming from everywhere. And then you have
yeah, I think the good thing, I'm going to cut in on this one. Sorry, Kyle. I'm going to cut in on this one because I draw a bit of a personal line when it comes to like anti-vaxxing stuff as a healthcare provider. I don't want to give that sort of thing a platform necessarily. I'm happy to discuss it in a longer form, but given we don't have much time left, I just don't want to start that conversation now when I can't end it. But suffice to say that I work in nanomedicine. If you're not familiar, the Pfizer and the Moderna are nanomedicine-based vaccines. So I know a lot of that science, and I understand why and how these things change. There are definitely political motivations behind some of the guidelines, but I don't think that the vaccines themselves are a part of the problem. More often than not, the scientists are not part of the problem. It's the way the science is interpreted by, the policymakers and things that cause some of the political problems, in my opinion. Vino, anything to add there?
No, I think you said it great. Especially putting a line in the ground for anti-vax. I think that was obviously what he was getting at, and I think that I think it is important not to give that a platform. And I think that it is a dangerous thing that we have continued to politicize scientific facts. Because as a person who worked in the lab and didn't know where our funding came from, I know how impartial it can be, and how scientific science can be sometimes.
Right. Yeah. But that was an interesting call. And again, I don't want to deplatform anyone. So like as a policy that I'm going to try to enforce when I'm hosting, I'll platform almost anything, as long as it's not egregiously against the ACA's policies, as long as we can have a substantive discussion about it.